All right, guys, so to pick up where we left off, this is video number 2. We were on the description of the y-intercept. So we talked about that the x position means minutes, and so after 0 minutes, where is the plane? It looks like the plane is not 20 feet in the air, but this would be 20,000 feet in the air because this is in thousands. So you could say before landing or at the start, because this is talking about the plane's descent, height of an airplane from the ground. So you could say something like, before the plane descends, it is 20,000 feet above the ground. So that says before the plane descends, it is 20,000 feet above the ground. All right, the next example, accurately graph the equation. Please graph using slope-intercept form or a table. Okay, so here I'm actually going to do both options to show you that both work. And so first, I'm going to do the faster way, and then I'm going to check it with a table. So if I were looking at number 8, this is the information we learned the most recently. This is in the form y equals mx plus b. And remember, we start with the y-intercept because the y-intercept is really a point, and then we move with the slope because the slope is actual a movement, rise over run. So if I were looking at number 8, this means that the point that I'm starting is the y-intercept at 0, 2. So this is the only thing I can plot right now. Remember, negative 3/4 is not a point, it's a movement. Now remember, we've said that this negative can go on either the 3 or the 4. My general preference is to put the negative on top. So from this point 2, this means that I'm going down 1, 2, 3 units, and then the 4 is positive, so write 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm thinking using slope-intercept form that my line looks something like this. Not the straightest lines I've ever made, but it'll do. Let's say you're not positive about this on the test. What you could do is come over here and make a table, x comma y. Because I'm dividing by 4, I would suggest picking 0, 4, and 8 because they're all divisible by 4 also. What we could do is take all of these and plug them in and figure out my outputs. So negative 3/4 times 0 plus 2, negative 3/4 times 4 plus 2, and negative 3/4 times 8 plus 2. So here, negative 3/4 times 0 is 0, 0 plus 2 is 2. So input 0, output 2. That is on my graph so far, so I'm in good shape. This next one, if I multiply negative 3/4 times 4 over 1, the 4's cross out, so I'm left with negative 3 plus 2, which is negative 1. So my next point is 4, negative 1, which also is on my line already. This is looking good. The third point, if I multiply 8 over 1, this would be negative 24/4 plus 2, or negative 6 plus 2, or negative 4. So I input 8, my output is negative 4. So if I plot that one, 8, negative 4 also looks like it would be on my line. So I've just double checked myself. I did it the fast way, but again, for a test, the reason we use tables first is so that you could check yourself in the end. Number 9, if I did it the faster way first. Remember, if we're thinking y equals mx plus b, it looks like there is no b, and so when you're adding and you don't see it, it really means plus 0. So this means the point, or the y-intercept that I'm starting at, is really 0, 0. So I'd start here at the origin, and then my slope is 4, or 4 over 1. So in terms of a movement, this really means I'm going up 4, and then right 1. This example, if you want to write it, this meant that I went down 3 and then right 4. So from this point, I would go up 1, 2, 3, 4 units over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. You could even go backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4 down and over 1. As many points as you need to make as straight as a line as you can. You could have done the same thing on this graph also. You could have gone, instead of down 3, right 4, you could have gone up 3, left 4, and gotten a point here if you want to put more points on your line. Again, let's make sure that this is correct. So I'm going to write on the table a little bit, or on the graph a little bit, but if I did make a table, x comma y, this time we are really just dividing by 1, so we could pick 0, 1, 2 if we wanted to. I would plug 0 into y equals 4x, plug 0 in here, 4 times 0 is 0. If I plug 1 in here, 4 times 1 is 4. If I plug 2 in here, 4 times 2 is 8. So my points are 0, 0, got it. 1, 4, on there already. 2, 8, looks reasonable. Looks like all 3 points from here match here. So both methods work. We know our answer is correct. (10, 11, 12, and 13 are all writing an equation or inequality using vocabulary. So number 10, 4 is subtracted from a number. So that means that the number comes first, and then I subtract 4. Then the difference. Now remember, difference means subtract. So we've already written down a subtraction problem. So this difference is multiplied by 5, which means that the entire thing, or the entire difference, is multiplied by 5, and the result is 30. Is meaning equals. So this would be the answer if I asked you just to write the equation, but I also ask you to solve. So if you were to solve this one, again, I want to remind everybody that instead of distributing, because the 5 does divide evenly into 30, what we can do is divide the 5 right away, and we'd be left with x minus 4 equals 30 divided by 5, or 6. We could add 4 to both sides and get that my x value is positive 10. Again, feel free, because it's an equation, you could always take the 10 and plug it back into the original to see if it works. So if I took 10, 10 minus 4 is 6, 6 times 5 is 30, so it does work. The quotient. Quotient is the answer to a division problem. So the quotient of a number, let's call it x, and 7, I'll write it as a fraction, is at least 12. Now, as soon as you see the phrase at least, that should spark not an equation, but an inequality. So at least means that 12 is the smallest number you could possibly have. So it's going to be 12 or above. So it would be less than or equal to 12. So this would be the answer for my inequality. If I wanted to actually solve that, the only thing I'd have to do is multiply both sides by 7. I'm not multiplying by a negative, so it would just be x is greater than or equal to 84. And I did not ask you to graph it, just what the final answer is. The next example says 4/5 of. Remember, of really means multiply. So if we have 4/5 times a number x is equals negative 6/5. You might recall that this was on your first test and your first review packet. So if I wanted, so again, this would be my answer for my equation, but if I actually wanted to solve it, 4/5 x equals negative 6/5, the quickest way to get a multiplied fraction to the other side is to divide by the fraction or multiply by the reciprocal. So we could multiply both sides by 5/4. So now we'll be left with x equals. The good news about this one is you could do it 2 ways. You could either go straight across and get negative 30/20, which would reduce to, if you divide both by 10, negative 3/2. Now, some of you might have noticed here, though, if I rewrote the problem, that the 5s could have crossed out right away. You could have gotten negative 6/4, divided that by 2, and still had negative 3/2. Number 13, the product. Product is the answer to a multiplication problem. The product of a number and 7, so 7 times a number, increased by 8, increased really means addition, is at most 50. So when you're hearing at most, that means that the biggest number you could possibly have is 50. So it'd have to be less than or equal to 50. So this would be my answer as an inequality. Solving it though, we would subtract 8. 7x is less than or equal to 42. Divide by 7. Again, the number you're moving is not negative, so the sign does not flip. So your answer would be x is less than or equal to 6. Percent equations, going back to another topic from your first test. Remember, the word of always means multiply, and the word is equals. So at the same time, I'm going to write these as two equation sentences. 20% times what equals 24. Now remember, 20% is not a normal number yet. If you want to take the percent symbol off, you have to move the decimal over twice to the left. So this really becomes 0.2 or 0.20 times x equals 24. And if your goal is to figure out what this number is, you would divide both sides by 0.2 or 0.20. And if you do that, you would get that the unknown number you're looking for is 120. So 20% of 120 is 24. This one is a sentence. 16 is equals what percent, I don't know the percent, of times 400. If I want to figure out what the percent is, we could divide both sides by 400 to get the x alone. If I did that, I would get x percent equals 16 divided by 400. In your calculator, that would be 0.04. Now remember, we're looking for a percent. We are not looking for a regular number. So if I want to change 0.04 to a percent, we need to move the decimal back over to the right. So my answer would be 4%. Pretty small. Number 16, what is the total price of a $32 shirt if the discount on the shirt is 15% and the sales tax is 7%? So this is another problem I'm going to do two ways, and you can choose which one you like more as a reminder. The longer way, what we could do is take the $32 and we could worry about the discount first. So the discount is 15%, which as a regular number is 0.15. So if we're talking about the percent of, we could multiply that by 0.15 because of, again, means multiply. If I take $32 times the discount of 0.15, my decimal out would be 0.48, which is really $4.80. Now, because this is a discount, that means it's money off. So we're going to subtract. So I would take my $32 and I would subtract the $4.80. And if you do that, you would get $27.20. So this is my price with the discount. So if I switch over to tax now, this first part was discount. I'm going to start with the $27.20 that I ended with here. I'm going to multiply this by my sales tax. And 7% as a decimal is 0.07. So if I take $27.20 times 0.07, I would get kind of a strange number of 1.904. But in terms of money, this means to me really $1.90. So then if I think about what this means, this is the amount of money that I have to add, because tax unfortunately is a bad thing. This is the tax that I need to add to $27.20. So I take my $27.20, I would add $1.90, and I would get $29.10. So after all of that, my original bill was $32, and I only saved a little bit of money paying $29.10. Now there is a faster way to do this problem. Stay tuned in the next video and I will make sure to remind you of that faster way. Thanks guys.